me tell you a story. About 2-3 years ago, like during COVID time, I'd say like when I was during 8th grade, I was around maybe 13, maybe 14 years old at the time. You know, I'm a 13, 14-year-old kid. You know, I just became a teenager, was always like hyping it up being a teenager, you know, advancing from being a preteen, being a tween or whatever, you know, just hyping up being a teenager. And at the time, I was absolutely not at the point where I'm actually able to really like make my life more better. Because guess what? I was a 13, 14-year-old kid, young teenager at the time. I haven't even graduated middle school yet, and I had pre-diabetes. Let that sink in. I was 13, 14 years old, and I had pre-diabetes at the time. As you can probably see in the thumbnail, because usually when it's like videos like these, I usually put like my like past photos of me in the thumbnails and stuff, like the photos of me, like whether that be like me shirtless or whatever, me with like my six-pack and all that stuff. I just show and be like, oh, you know, cool, you know, this is where I've come from. I've came from this, and I've came from this, and you know, I've advanced in my life to a significant point where I'm able to like make my SMV more like higher, and I'm like more of like a good high value type of man, type of character. Not saying like I'm trying to be like a Sigma, like high value type of man character, but I have gotten to that point where I've like, you know, advanced in my life. And just think about it, at the time I haven't even discovered anything about self-improvement or going to the gym or like going like eating healthy, all that stuff. I was eating a whole bunch of calories, eating a whole bunch of sugar, and I had a metabolic disorder that most people don't even have until their 40s, or what the doctors, like your fat doctor is supposed to say like, oh, you're supposed to have diabetes at 40 years old, but you're not even supposed to be having them. It's because of the fact that we live in a nation like overworked and like lazy like generation. And all I'm gonna say is that I was absolutely miserable. I was obese and I was lost. I was an obese, lost kid who had no competition in my life because of the fact that I found that gay. I spend time because of the fact that I'm a young teenager and I'm just getting to like more in my hormones and my testosterone levels spiking up, and I'm liking girls. These girls obviously not liking me back because I'm like a pre-diabetic, sugar like obese nightmare to them. And the only thing that made me happy was playing video games like Roblox, Fortnite on my PS4, Minecraft, like all these games that are just dopaminergic and just a waste of time. If you don't know what Roblox is, if I remember, it's like a multiplayer game like most high schoolers played even during these days, which is like, you're old as fuck, why the hell are you still playing like these childish video games? And at the time, like 13, 14 years old, I've been playing this game, I've been grinding in this game for hours. Like, you know that phrase where people be like, if you like do something for 10,000 hours, you're gonna master the skill? That was basically me. I literally mastered playing this video game hours and hours every single day, because of the fact it was like a free open space like video game, multiplayer game. I kept playing game after game after game because it was like multiple different games, because it's like the developers like to like create their games, right? I would play multiple different games because of the fact that I was coping with my life, because of the fact that I was obese, I was unhappy, I had no girlfriend, I had no friends, and I was very socially anxious. And as always, I spent money on this game, hundreds of dollars, maybe even I probably spent $1,000 on this game on virtual currency so I could get like items and like game passes and like prestiges and like advantages in the game, so it can like spike my dopamine levels up, because of the fact that I wasn't really treating like real life competition as like actual good competition, like in like when you like, you know, when you have in video games, you have like that competition, all that stuff. You're like, oh, if I get this certain thing, if I get like the certain game pass or whatever, I get like the edge and the competition in life, and like, you know, it's gonna seem really, really cool. I didn't have like that type of feeling in like my actual life, because of the fact that I was always this kid who was like obese and pre-diabetic and just this fat kid, and I had like no like thinking for myself about like competition and all that stuff. So I use video games as degenerate substances just to cope with my life, so I can make that real competition be like in my virtual world, instead of like making the competition actually happen, whether like, you know, I'm playing sports or like weightlifting or like martial arts or whatever. Thousands of hundreds of dollars spent on this game, thousands gone. Think about that. If your grandfather gave you like $100 every single day, and you were like this really, really disciplined kid, this really, really disciplined middle schooler, you were spending that money actually good on stuff like investments and stocks, or probably even your own little teenager business. Just imagine how much you would grow. Just imagine how much I'd grow if I was actually one of those 13-year-old kids who got into business, all that stuff, and I just was scaling up and higher. And you know, my scale is just going up and up and up and up, and I'm just really advancing in my life, because of the fact that I'm not wasting time. I'm not wasting time spending this money on like video games, fucking Roblox bullshit, fucking Fortnite coins, whatever. Just imagine that if I spent all this stuff on actual YouTube equipment, like business courses, all this stuff, I'd be really, really successful. Like, think about it. If I spent all this money on this video game, just and I got successful in this video game, then just imagine if I spent all this money on business, if I spent all this money on business instead of like spending all this money on bullshit video games. Like, I'd be a fucking G. If you think about it, like, I'll literally be a G. If I spent all this money on this video game and I spent all this money in like my business instead, that would give me the head start in life that I should have been had. I'm not mad because of the fact that, as you're gonna see later, I obviously start like my self-improvement journey like late 14 years old, like once I graduated like middle school after and I got into like freshman year. But this video is not about video games. You clicked on this video because of the fact that it has something to do with NOFAP. We clicked on this video because it has something to do with like actual base genuine like good self-improvement habits like NOFAP and going to the gym. This video is not about video games, but just realize that these habits, the video games, the porn, the junk food, all that stuff, those are all bad all together. All together, all those really make like a super like dark, super bad habit that's gonna turn you into like a negative like bubble human being. No competition in your life if you're a man and you're just wasting time just playing video games and not having like actual good brotherhood competition. So I didn't stop there. I developed a whole new habit, and you obviously know what this habit is. I'm not even gonna talk about it. It's literally in the title of this video. That's literally like the opposite of the no. And guess what? Because of the fact that I was a video game nerd, I started out with these video game characters and like looking at like these Fortnite characters, all this stuff like naked and all that stuff, and like these P-Hub sites, and I was wasting time. I was just very miserable in my life, just coping with substances in my life because of the fact that I had no girls and I had like no love in my life. And yeah, it was pretty gross, right? That I needed extreme things in my life just so it could like get me like in the edge, so it could get me like in the mood, so I could feel like a spritz of dopamine that's coming out of my pee-pee. I was addicted not only to P-Hub content, but also fake people, fake emotions, literal pixels on the screen, like literal like fake love, literally like these like steroid filled like P-Hub actresses with like the good lighting on that stuff, and like they have like literal like 8 inches bullshit, all that stuff that's literally like all fake lighting. I was literally into all this stuff, but in the form of like drawn animation style like pixels on the screen. Have you ever obviously been in the same place like me before, which is why you're probably looking at this video? You probably know exactly what I mean when you're so up into the addiction, like regular content can't even get you like that spritz of dopamine out of your pee-pee. Like you have a normal ejaculation, right? It's like, oh, that's cool, oh, she's actually pretty hot and all that stuff. But then because of the fact that it's a pipeline, because of the fact that you keep looking at content, you're going to keep looking at content, plus the fact that you're also comparing with other addictions that you have, like video games, all that stuff. You're going to combine that. You're going to be looking up like these video game characters from these like shady, like literal, like degenerate, like bullshitty fucking loser artists. You're gonna be jacking off to all that stuff instead of like jacking off to even like real women, which is still bad in its own right. You don't feel alive, you don't feel competition, you don't have like that masculine urge to like dominate and like that huge testosterone boost. You just exist. You exist in your own bubble, your own dopaminergic bubble. And honestly, if I could go back in time, I'd slap the hell out of me and just tell me, what the fuck am I doing? Why the hell am I wasting time playing video games, wasting time spending money on this video game, wasting time not going to the gym, wasting time not competing with other men, wasting time not on NoFap, man. I'm just like, I'm jacking off and I'm spilling my seed, which my future wife would literally say thank me. Like my future wife would literally thank me if I literally saved my seed, because of the fact that it really make me more healthier and make my kids more healthy. This wasn't pleasure. This wasn't happiness. This was the path of self-destruction. And everybody who has succeeded on self-improvement and has become successful has once started on the path of self-destruction. And after all the bullying, all the loneliness, and all the COVID stuff, bullshit, all the lockdown, and me being lonely, me with all my social anxiety, I broke. When 8th grade summer hit, I simply said no more. This was a time when I started like looking at rather more red pill YouTube content, and I'm like pushing more like the video game YouTube content. Now obviously I'm a video game nerd, all that stuff at the time. Like I was like a huge video game nerd, so at the time I balanced, because of the fact that I was still a video game nerd, I'm starting my self-improvement journey. I balanced being like watching Far From Week, I watched Hamza, I watched Jack Pigott, I watched First Man, I watched Iman Gadji, I watched all these like influential like people who like really are really high value men, and I watched that alongside like my video game YouTubers and all that stuff. But I try like watch more of those type of content because of the fact that I was in the start of my journey. I needed information. Started going to the gym. I got inspired by Ziz, Martin Rios, Greg Doucette, Betty, the Trend Twins, Sam Sulik, and so forth and so on. Through them, I built my body. Through the hard work and consistency, I built my mind. And through structure, I literally found my meaning and my purpose in my life. I started making videos like these, and I started actually respecting myself. I started having actual standards against people. That's when I realized I could actually create something with other people, and I could create a real healthy life for myself. I could actually be a somebody, not a pre-diabetic, 300-pound, obese, 8th grade fat ass, and I could be a disciplined, strong, healthy, masculine, young, testosterone-filled man. And so that was the start of my self-improvement journey. Because this shit, I swear, if you're watching this video and you've been on self-improvement for at least a while, you realize like this shit actually works. Like self-improvement works. People just don't make videos on self-improvement videos and just be like, oh, we're just gonna make videos on self-improvement. This stuff actually works, and this stuff is actually how life is supposed to be. Like I realized that this stuff, the crabs, like they're fucking nutty when they be like, oh, 1 hour of video games every single day. Like, no, trust me, this stuff actually works. This is the way of life right here. Self-improvement is the way of life. And so because of the fact that I learned that's when I changed and I broke those habits and I started to become a way better person. And that was the start of my own journey of building myself up as a man. Because of the fact that I had no father figure in my life, I had no masculine guidance in my life, and because of that I was trying to find myself of being a man, living in a single parent household with only me and my sister, and of course my mother who was taking care of me. No father figure at all, so I had to do the hard work even if I didn't feel like it, just to find all the bullshit and like just eradicate it out of my life, and so I can find all the good habits and find the meaning and the purpose of what being a man is, the purpose of life of being a man. So let me tell you another story as well. This is going to be a pretty shocking and vulgar story, so if you want to actually skip this through, like you can probably skim through this video. I'm not sure like when I'm going to actually stop and like talk about this topic. I'll probably put like a card up or whatever when I stop talking about it, but this is going to be like when I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old or whatever. So, and this is when I first discovered of like the bad habit of P-Hub and like not being on NOFAP, just being a fapper and a gooner basically. So when I was 6 or 8 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever, I was sleeping over at my cousin's house because of the fact that, my mom had to work and all that stuff. It was pretty tough times, just being like in a single parent household and all this stuff, like 2018, whatever, living out in Washington, D.C. where I'm from. So, being just young kids, all that stuff, we were just playing video games. We were playing that same game that I was talking about, Roblox, and we were just playing that all a lot. We were just playing video games after video games, games after games after games. It was rather fun, right? We were just the only ones in the house alone because of the fact that everybody was like, my aunt left out for errands, my cousins left out for work, uncle left out so he could go to a job. Just doing all the stuff that most kids do at that age, Fortnite, video games, Roblox, all that stuff, just playing those type of stuff. And then at some point, my cousin said something pretty wild, pretty crazy. That was the start of my addiction. He said he had found something that was pretty crazy that his parents would watch. He showed me the phone and he typed up the words PORN and HUB. He showed me a wide list of videos of explicit videos, and that was the first time I saw my first explicit video from my own cousin, from my own family member who I'm supposed to call my family, somebody who I'm supposed to rely on. He showed me my first degenerative video that literally made me like a gooner down the line. It literally made me a loser down the line. It made me a pre-diabetic 300-pound obese nightmare. That was the first time I saw my first explicit video of a girl and a guy going at it. And that moment absolutely changed everything for me. I don't know what I was really feeling at the time. Maybe it was like a little bit of like an erection or whatever, like a little bit of like because at that age, because of the fact that testosterone, all that stuff, it's not really like a whole bunch of testosterone. Like you're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, right? So you're not gonna have like a huge bunch of testosterone, right? But all I'm gonna say is that I was feeling feelings that was pretty comparable to like the type of feelings that you have when you see this type of content. Even like when you used to be a gooner, right? We used to like goon at videos. This was me. I would look at that type of content and I felt a type of feeling. Same type of feeling that I would be feeling when I was actually looking at his content as a gooner myself. And since then, that was the moment when the addiction started. Since then, this was the moment when Corn Hub and P Hub and all that stuff, Rule 34 actually started to enter my life. And obviously it didn't like accelerate, it didn't like shoot through, and I just started like looking at all like the worst type of stuff. It wasn't until when I first had my first like PP like ejaculation, when it actually started like get more deeper into like the gooner addiction. That was when the habit actually started to take control of my life. And because of the fact that I was living in a single parent household down the years, because of the fact that it wasn't like an accelerated feeling, but it gradually got worse and worse and worse when I was like I would look at this content, but I wouldn't even fap. I just look at the content, and then like I'd be like touching myself, and then that was when I actually started like getting into like straight blown gooning. At first it used to be pictures, then it was videos, then it was starting to get more into like that animation type of stuff, where I talked about like with the fake video game characters and like the logs and like the steroids and all that stuff with like the lighting and like, you know, the OnlyFans models, for example. And by the time COVID time hit, oh boy, by the time COVID time hit, this was the time when I was living at my grandparents, right? Because of the fact that my mom had to make money, all that stuff, COVID time was starting to like wreak havoc. You know, everybody was like locked in the house. And because of the fact that my grandparents at the time, you know, me and my grandfather and my grandma, they were like retired at the time. My grandfather is like a military veteran. My grandma, you know, she retired like 40 years old. Bad decision was that I actually went there with a phone and technology, because of the fact that they had technology at their house too. And because of that, I started to look at all the extensive P-Hub content. And then obviously one day when I was showering at my grandparents' house, boom, that's when it happened. The gooning incident had happened. The loser gooning incident, like, you know, when we all had like our first time had happened. And you know, it felt like a really exhilarating feeling because of the fact that I literally was like building up all the pressure and all that stuff, and then boom, it came out for the first time. It was an exhilarating feeling. However, from there, it just only got worse, because at that point I was only chasing pleasure. I was not chasing progress. I was not chasing like ways how I can like get more like well, this was 6th grade, so I'm not gonna like put like too much pressure on myself, but I was still like a degenerate gooner at the time. I was still a degenerate gooner. I was wasting hours, days. I was killing my discipline, killing my confidence, no social interactions. And going back to 8th grade, fast forward to 8th grade, I was still this loser gooner kid who gained an extra 100 pounds of body fat. Pretty diabetic because of the fact that I kept eating grandma's cooking, and I was still addicted, still playing video games, still being a nerd, and still not attracting the type of girls that I want, type of girls that I had a crush on, the type of girls that I wanted to go up to. But because of the fact that I was insecure in myself, and because of the fact that they know like they obviously don't want my fat ass, I was miserable, absolutely depressed and miserable. So that's when I kept coping with the gooning. That's when I kept coping with the P-Hub. And then this is where summer comes. I go to Florida. I went to Florida and a divine intervention had happened. You see, in Florida, we went to like this Airbnb's place, like, you know, this Airbnb. We were just gonna stay there for a little bit, just have like a little trip in Florida, go to the beach or whatever, with like all the like the fucking bacteria that they have, like the skin eating bacteria that they apparently have in Florida beaches. So, you know, I had my own room. It was a really nice Airbnb. If I have pictures, I'll put it up in the screen. But you know, I had my own room. In my own room had a TV, right? And I don't know what happened. I don't know really what exactly happened, but I started to like look at the TV on all that stuff. And then this is where I found out a YouTuber that you probably heard before, that you probably seen first before in your own self-improvement journey. His name is Far From Weak. And just suddenly just going down and scrolling through like the TV list with all the recommended videos of all the video game nerd YouTube channels I would watch. Just this one specific type of content, because the fact that Far From Weak had a profile picture that was like based off a video game character that I played a video game of, and so I was interested in that type of discipline. And even though it was rather cringe because of the fact that it was like a faceless channel and you can tell like it was made off of like pure Chabged, he was the first type of act of self-improvement that I was able to get into, and the first self-improvement YouTuber that I was actually like connecting with and I was actually taking action on. And it was that video, it was that one video that he had posted that was about something about testosterone or whatever, that literally changed my entire life. And I was actually doing the good habits for myself. I stopped playing video games. I literally covered my entire TV that had like my stuff on it, like my YouTube channel, because of the fact that I had like a little like Roku TV. I go like my YouTube channel, like look up all these YouTubers and all that stuff, like video game YouTubers. I literally like covered up my TV with like a little blanket so I would not look at the videos on that stuff, right? I told my mom to sell my PS4. I went on a stage in NOFAP and I started hitting the gym, like my near apartment gym. And even though it was brutal, especially being on NOFAP, and I had a couple relapses at first, I swear every single day it felt like war. Every single day it felt like war by myself. Every single day it sucked. Every single day I had that urge just to touch myself. Every single day I had that urge so I could goon. every single day I had that urge so I can uncover that TV so I can play video games on my PS4 and so I can unlist it offer up and start being more of a loser. Every single day, it was a war. But as the weeks went on, as the days went on, and as the relapses started to go less and less and less until I had 0 relapses, that's when I felt free. That's when I felt free from the addiction of P-Hub. That's when I felt free from the addiction of video games. That's when I felt free from the addiction of this fucking phone that I'm recording all of my videos. That's when I felt free of, eating junk food. That's when I felt free of not having the discipline. This is when I felt free of being a slave to my urges, that most likely that you've been through this before and you are legally a slave to your own urges yourself. And guess what? This is when I learned one simple thing. Discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is literally the things that you need to do in your life. For some reason, people just don't get it. Like they're mentally retarded or whatever. They choose the things that they shouldn't do, that they don't need to do in their lives, and they do that instead of doing the things that they need to do, that they should do in their lives. They do that instead. And so this is where discipline comes in. Discipline isn't punishment for like not playing the 1 hour video games every single day. It's the mindset that you have, because it's the fact that if you play 1 hour video games every single day, you're a loser and you're wasting time, and you could have been actually like putting in work studying. Discipline isn't punishment for like not masturbating and all that stuff. It's just making sure that you're actually using that energy and not fucking touching yourself, looking at these pixels on the screen, going into people that will actually find you creepy in real life, or people who aren't even real at all, like literal animation AI, and actually rediverting that lustful energy, sexual tension, sexual frustration to something more better. Discipline isn't any of that. It's not punishment. It's just liberation. And now that you know my story, I actually want to talk about this whole P-Hub type of content. The reason why P-Hub isn't just an act. P-Hub isn't just an act. It's not just a simple act that people do. You just don't go on your phone. You just don't scroll on the hub and be like, all that stuff, and it's like a normal type of thing, then nothing else happens. It's an act and a sin. It's not just something that you don't only do in your bedroom. It's really something that rewires your entire brain. It literally rewires your entire philosophy. If you even have a philosophy in your life, you probably have like this more like bullshit fucking weak soft picking, the harm principle. I play video games and all that stuff, and I would look at P-Hub and that stuff, and as long as I don't harm people, all that stuff. But at the same time, you're technically indirectly harming people, because the fact that you're messing up your own philosophy, you're messing up your own mindset, you're seeming more like a creepy person, because you are a creepy little fucking loser bitch. So all I'm gonna say here simply, porn is the addiction that ends all addictions. That's how bad porn is. Porn is literally the addiction, the number one addiction that ends all addictions. Swear to God, take my word for this. Porn is the addiction that ends all addictions. It kills your motivation and discipline if you even have any of that at all, or like any type of self-awareness, any type of fucking, like if you can do fucking 30 pull-ups in 1 second. It literally kills your motivation and your discipline. It wraps your sense of reality and just makes you more of a bitch. And it convinces you that this fake fucking P-Hub content love, like, subscribe to my OnlyFans. Do this, do this for my OnlyFans. I love my fans. I love my subscribers. I love my loyal customers who are literally like wasting time, like wasting like their seed to me in my videos, all that stuff. I'm my evil little lustful fucking succubus demon, and I'm making all this money from them. Yes, it literally numbs your desire for the real thing. You see, the real thing isn't bad, because obviously you want sexual connection with your spouse. You want to be connected with your spouse. You obviously want to have like love and like relationship and all that stuff with your spouse. It just gets bad when you're too lustful and you're too sexual and you're wasting time and you're wasting your seed and all this stuff. 9 times out of 10, you're going to only be doing it with like these pixels on the screen, because it's literally not just dopamine. It's literally brain rot, social decay. And you see, for me, P-Hub was literally the pipeline of being a fucking bitch loser. It was the pipeline of me getting to Discord, me getting to video games, me getting to like Twitter, me getting to Reddit, me getting to more like the YouTube shorts, the TikToks, and all the Instagram reels. It was also the pipeline that also connects back to those Discord servers, and me getting to more of those explicit communities where you need to be 18 plus, and potential moments where I could have been groomed by actual adults. That's how down bad I was. That's how much of a lustful type of person I was. That's how much of a person that I was so horny. I was so fucking horny at the time. I just was super lustful. I would join all these servers and bypass the age filter. That's how fucked up I was, because I had no philosophy, I had no drive, I had no competition in my life. I was deep in the hole, I was deep in the rut at the age of fucking 13, 14 years old, 8th grade, 300 pounds, pre-diabetic, fucking obese kid, 25% body fat. I keep saying it because of the fact that look at me now, hanging out with all these fucking losers who are addicted to fucking video games, all the crabs, all the losers, all this stuff, all the people who are like addicted to the video games and the P-Hub content. I see them now every single day. And guess what? I can't relate to them. However, in the past, like let's say like when I was in 8th grade and I'm just getting to 9th grade 3 months ago, before I got into the path, I would have never related to them. However, at the time, because of the fact that I was doing all this stuff, I was addicted to all of the filth that they had as well. And you know, looking back now, I realized something really, really terrifying, really like just deep, and just really like I asked you something that's actually just been on my mind lately, because of the fact that I've been writing the script and I've been just thinking about it lately. I wasn't just addicted, I was programmed by this stuff. I was programmed by the reels, by the algorithm, by the fucking system that wants to keep us weak, that wants us to fucking jack our fucking cocks off to these pixels on screen. And if I hadn't went to Florida, if I haven't actually found my own path, if I haven't felt like most of these self-improvement YouTubers, I would have never like escaped the programming. I would have always been a little loser gooner bitch. I could have, and I would have stayed 300 pounds. I would have stayed pre-diabetic, and I would have stayed completely lost, and I would have been a fucking loser. Because guess what? P-Hub doesn't just steal your energy. It doesn't just steal your philosophy. It steals way more. It steals your manhood. It steals your testosterone. It literally makes you fat. Literally, there's a science for this as well. When you, every single time you ejaculate, and like your androgens, all that stuff, your kidney starts to release all that fluid, like the cauldron, right? There's people who practice Taoist philosophy call like the man seed, the cauldron. Once all like the hot, like vital oil escapes the cauldron, your testosterone level dips. It combined that with poor sleep, because the fact that you keep wasting time on video games or scrolling on social media and talking to these fucking ugly, degenerate girls who don't even fucking like your work. Combine that with eating junk food and all these fucking phytoestrogens, like all these like artificial sugars, all that stuff, and combine that with this, just a natural testosterone lower. If you're combining all this type of stuff, this is literally going to be a literal natural castration. Especially if you keep doing it over and over and over and over again, you're just going to be castrating yourself without even like physically taking out your cock and balls. And when I quit, I actually started to figure out what the hell strength actually meant. It literally meant my control and my focus and my direction. And without that, you are not living, you're just consuming. Because guess what? You're coping with a bad life because of the fact that you have the symptoms of having a bad life. And the problem is the fact that you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, which is causing the symptoms of you being a bitch. Those symptoms being the video games and the P-Hub content and you texting all the girls, sorry. Now, pushing past the topic of NoFap, I'm going to be talking more of like my own physical fitness and like my journey with like going to the gym and like losing weight, like getting to my 6-pack journey from being like an actual like complete loser dumbass to being a fucking actual good like high value fucking sexual market value fucking Chad. Or like I don't want to keep like technically saying myself as like a Chad, but I'm gonna just say that right here and there because of the fact that I've obviously like increased my status. I significantly increased like my competition in my life. Well, there is no fucking competition for me, so it's like the other way around. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you are my competition, but the people around me, the people at my school, the people at my work, the people who like all this stuff, like they are not my competition. You guys are. After discovering NoFap, this is when I obviously went to the gym, which is what I talked about in the last section. Started hitting the gym, and I started going to Planet Fitness because of the fact that Planet Fitness was giving out free summer passes for 3 months, which is a steal for people between the ages of 14 and 19 years old. So I was grinding in the gym every single day, no breaks. I knew nothing about lifting, no form, didn't even know what a run rep max is, or ego lift, or a progressive overload, or like the difference between endurance and muscle building and like actual muscular strength. I had no diet and I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to be doing. But every single day I showed up. Every single day I showed up and I started lifting and I started going to the gym. Every single day I started to be consistent and I started tracking my calories on apps like MyFitnessPal, MyNetDiary, MyCarb which is my favorite one and not the one that I use right now. I had no idea. I didn't know what I was doing. I just kept doing the same type of 3 exercises and then ending it with cardio. But guess what? That at least made me build the mental discipline and the motivation so I could keep going to the gym and actually like start like pushing off like the fact that I keep looking at P-Hub content and the fact that I keep having like these feelings towards these girls, and I keep looking at girls provocatively, like I keep looking at their frame, all that stuff, without respecting them as an actual person. But guess what? I showed up every single day, no breaks. You know, my mom herself, because of the fact that she was already overworked and stressed, and because of the fact that she was like pretty obese herself and she wanted to lose weight herself, she just showed me to simply the machines. And this is where I started. I started hitting the free weight machines, and with those free weight machines I hit the weights, and then after that I do that for like a quick 30 or like maybe even like 10-20 minutes or so, finish that with a 30-minute cardio. And even though it wasn't like the most effective way of me losing fat, even though it wasn't the most effective way of actually building like my actual good physique that I have now, like a relatively good physique that I have now, because of the fact that I have all this skin in my body, because of the fact that I lost over 100 pounds, I started just to recomp and I started to just lose fat and I started to build muscle. Even with this pretty basic exercise, obviously if I started out pretty good and I started out with like the discipline and keep going consistently, it's gonna work somehow. And every single day I went on that treadmill blasting hardstyle music that was really like just screaming or whatever. But sometimes like it'd be like some cringe like anime edit or whatever, like some type of like edit or whatever. It's just like the edit, like something like the gym lifter like screaming all that stuff, like the hardstyle audio in the background. I felt more alive than ever before. I felt actually happy because of the fact that I was spending time outside of the house and I was like working out and I was actually losing weight. And because of that, the gym literally became my therapy. It literally became my home. The gym literally became my discipline. It became my temple, because every single day I go consistently and I put my headphones on, I turn on our hardstyle music, I listen to like a little Ziz video or whatever, like a little Greg Duchetti video about like just to build my gym and like knowledge between the exercises that I should be doing, so I can like actually do like, okay, if I want to build an actual good physique, okay, I gotta do like bicep curls or whatever, okay, that's what I gotta do. And with summer ending, I didn't stop going to the gym. As I said before, my own apartment had a little gym that you needed a little keypad, like a little key fob just to get in. And I just started working out every single day after school. I didn't catch the bus after school. I actually kept walking after school. And so I started to move my training to my apartment's gym. I started doing more tactical muscle splits. They weren't really perfect because of the fact that, you know, I'm still like a beginner at this stuff. I have only been going to the gym for 3 months, but they're doing something more than just me being a sitting down like lazy fucking Roblox video game nerd. And the more I trained, the more confidence that I built. I wasn't only building my body, I was literally building my entire life. I was building my discipline. I was literally getting the devil off of my shoulders. I was going more straight into the spirit, because God literally put that chain around me because he realized that I was a young kid and I was literally about to get into the habit of the devil. He started to reel me back into the heavens, back into his literal like dome, because he knew that the habits that I was doing was bad and I was literally getting straight into the devil. And so after a few months of just me lifting and going to the gym and just me lifting weights and doing more PPL and PPL splits and all that stuff and just doing full body or like just a basic like back and by or whatever, after a few months I was hungry. I wanted more. I wanted to actually protect my family. I wanted to actually make it so I can actually defend myself, so I can actually use my body for actual defense. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to get into a zone of like a martial arts club or whatever. I wanted to actually like get more philosophical. I wanted to get more into like the martial arts, the art of like this, and you know, just I wanted to get more into just bettering myself in general. And by that time, this is when I sold my PS4 and this is when I started going to my boxing gym. So before I actually wrestled, I actually boxed. If you guys are watching this video and you probably like see my profile picture before, it was me in my wrestling like profile picture for a little while, but I've obviously changed it. And man, all I'm gonna say is that going to day one of that boxing gym, even though I was like pretty like a disciplined, I was like more consistent in going to the gym, it completely humbled me. I felt defeated. I felt absolutely miserable. I felt like a loser. I felt like that same type of fat ass back when I was back in day one. I literally could not jump rope right. I was literally jump roping backwards. My footwork was absolutely trash. And I kept being out cardio. I kept being out of shape. I kept being out of breath. And I just felt awkward. And I was obviously awkward. And I looked awkward. And I was embarrassed. And I was weak. Guess what? That's what made me say one simple thing. Because I knew that the only way to get through this, I know that the only way to keep going and to keep pushing on was consistency, hard work, and discipline. So I kept showing up every single day, no breaks, Monday through Wednesday through Friday. Every single day that they had the classes, I kept showing up every single day. 9 months straight, I kept training, sparring, and drilling. I was building power, I was building skill, I was building actual technique to protect me and my family. However, obviously, I don't really tell people all this stuff, but I did quit boxing because I wanted to get more into Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But that phase didn't really last because obviously, as you can see, I started going to wrestling, I started competing in tournaments, I started competing in matches. And this is when every single thing clicked. This is when like the system started to actually being put onto me. I started to have this own little system. And now, as I'm going to say, it's my second year wrestling, all I'm going to say is that day one was hell, just as day one of like going to the boxing gym was hell as well, and I was being humble. But this is a type of hell that transforms you and turns you more into a god, that literally turns you more into like a disciplined being. And through all this pain, through all this humbleness, through all this like hard work and embarrassment and through going out of my comfort zone and all this stuff. This is when I found one type of thing. I found actual masculine testosterone filled competition. And if I stayed at 300 pounds, still playing video games, still gooning, still playing fucking Roblox or Fortnite, I would have never found this if I was even alive, because of the fact that I was pre-diabetic and I was 300 pounds. So martial arts had absolutely taught me that growth of being uncomfortable. And so martial arts had absolutely taught me that growth of being in discomfort. That pain is literally just the weakness leaving your soul. It's literally like, you ever heard that phrase of like, oh, every single time you sweat, that's like fat crying? That was literally me. I was literally sweating out the fat. I was sweating out the weakness, right? And after all that, after being consistent in my wrestling, after being consistent in my boxing, after being consistent in all this stuff, after being consistent in meditation, journaling, after being consistent in like dreamlining and like goal setting, all that stuff, this is when I started getting more into philosophy. I wanted to seek something deeper so I could get more powerful. I wanted to seek something more deeper so I could become more spiritually powerful and more powerful overall. This is when I found my philosophy of Taoism and Stoicism and started to actually study Christianity. Because guess what? Discipline isn't only just about the body, it's also about the mind and the spirit and your own beliefs. If you're going to be looking at P-Hub, then obviously you're going to be more connected with the devil. If you're going to be playing video games, then you're going to be connected with the devil. And this is when I found out that going to the gym built my body, and being on NOFAP built my mind and my spirit. Because guess what? Being more in tune with the spirit and being more in tune with philosophy, it literally builds your soul. So to wrap this video up, all I'm going to say is that this video isn't really about like my type of like usual like advice giving or education type of videos, but it has to do stuff with like me niching down. If you're struggling right now with all the pains, all the stuff that's going through your life, then just listen to me. You're not hopeless, you are just unarmed. And I would recommend not to focus on the like the weak fucking 1% mindset, like 1% better every single day, because that's obviously nonsense. That's keeping you average. Be disciplined, be obsessed of being uncomfortable. Because guess what? Obviously when you were looking at P-Hub content and you were gooning and you were playing video games, that made you like that more comfortable type of person, that made you like a little like loser yourself. After 2 years of being on NoFap and countless gym sessions, rebuilding myself from the ground up, I literally found something. I literally found my potential. I found my discipline. And I literally found something powerful as well. Like before I was watching this video, I was listening to a podcast and somebody said literally this type of quote. It was from the Bible. Idle hands is literally the devil's workshop, and I couldn't be even more true. And all I'm going to say, however, though, is that carved body shows the working hands of God. Discipline isn't punishment. It's literally the pathway to peace. It's the only way to peace. And when you start walking the path of self-improvement, when you start walking the path of not being a NoFap, when you start like cutting like all like the bad habits, and when you start like talking to these people, when you start walking that path with your mind, body, and your soul, you literally start to feel more alive. And as I say in this section in this video isn't really like the type of video where like my usual education type of video, but just realize like your own discipline and your own like this being in like not the comfortable stages of your life is going to genuinely and gradually build you. Every single time that you focus, every single time you say no to P-Hub, that's making you actually 1% stronger. Instead of like doing like these type of like weird meditation, like these weird techniques, all that stuff that's like makes you 1% better every single day, but then you're not like even on NoFap and you keep scrolling on social media and all that stuff. It's like drink your little lime water, like the little fucking like women and all that stuff that be on TikTok, whatever, like that conventional self-improvement type of act. And because of the fact that this is usually the type of stuff that I say at the end of my videos, since this is the end of the video, all I'm going to say is stay safe, stay focused, and as always, God bless, because I'll see you tomorrow in another one.